Jeffrey, you aren't a friend of Philip Davis's anymore after this rather embarrassing. And Godfrey Bloom. Yeah, you're not. He's not a friend of Philip Davis or Godfrey Bloom anymore. I don't think.
I had lunch a couple of times with Philip Davis some years ago, so I do know him. He wasn't a friend, but I think we need to get this straight because I think you've got the story slightly skewiff here.
Oh, well, put me right, please, dear chap.
Okay,
yes.
I will. I'll put you straight on this.
Good
because
man.
A lot of people have jumped to a conclusion. Now, basically, what the government tried to do was to put through on a private member's motion a bill late on a Friday night, which was a new criminal bill, which was going to make upskirting, this thing of upskirting, which incidentally I'd never heard of until last week either, they were going to make that a criminal offence for which you could get 2 years. Now, that's all very well, and that may be right or that may be wrong, but it was going to be done with no parliamentary debate. It was on a second reading. So what Chope said and what Davis said is you can't put through a bill like this late on a Friday night with nobody in the House and no debate. And, of course, they were quite right. You can't bring in new criminal law without a parliamentary debate. It's quite wrong. And they were quite right to stop it. Now that the government have taken it over as a bill, as a government bill, and that will leave time for a proper debate. And that's quite right and proper.
Yeah. What sort of... Well, it's not really, because, this is a bill that is preventing perverts putting a camera up my wife, your wife's, your girlfriend's skirt and trying to take a picture of their knickers. I mean...
Well, let me just put another scenario to you. Let me give you another scenario. And this is what happens when you don't debate a bill.
Yep.
Let's imagine you've got young people at a Cambridge May ball. Everybody's very drunk. A girl gets up and dances on the table. A drunken undergraduate takes a photograph. That finds its way onto the internet. And then that young man or that young lesbian could find herself going to prison for 2 years.
Did you say young...
You've got to think these things through. You've got to think
Godfrey,
it
calm
through.
down, mate. You'll give yourself a hernia or something. Did you say young lesbian?
Well, if somebody...
Listen, you're not an MP, I know, so I can't really blame you. You obviously... Weren't you a UKIP member as well, Godfrey, at one time?
Do you want to discuss... Now, your producer brought me on to discuss this thing.
Never mind about the producer.
I've given you a very rational reason.
No, you haven't really. There can be no
debated.
debate. What is the debate on? You're not seriously telling me if some drunken oik at university starts taking pictures up a woman's skirt, he doesn't deserve a couple of years. I'd give him 10 years for doing that, for getting drunk and behaving badly. For goodness sake, Jeffrey.
You sound like a complete moron. Don't you understand the law? You have to debate the bill before it becomes law. It's got its second reading. It has to go for assent by the House of Lords before it comes law, quite rightly. You seem to want to railroad this through. You don't seem to have any idea how the law works.
Jeffrey, you just called me...
You can't even get my name right.
Oh, Godfrey,
you can't even get my name right. Dear,
Jeffrey,
dear,
Godfrey, whatever it is, you called me a moron.
Oh. You are a moron.
You don't exist to me anymore, my friend. Goodbye. What a prat.
Do you remember he was the guy who was outside and there was a guy pointed out about the UKIP brochure didn't have any...
Oh, gosh.
And he hit him with the brochure.
How do people like him get into jobs like that?
Well, you take Nigel out for a couple of pints.
Nigel wouldn't have anything to do with him, I wouldn't have thought. How on earth... Oh, he's the... Yeah, you're right, I remember. Yeah.
You remember him, yeah.
Yeah, what a fool. What a fool. Oh. If you sink to that kind of... Oh, hang on. What did he say?
He didn't call him a moron again, did he?
Yeah, I see. Well, do you want to put him back on and I'll show him exactly? No, don't bother, because... The man is really not worth talking to. I mean, anybody who thinks that a bill that was going to go quickly through Parliament that now has been delayed...
And what was all the lesbian thing? What was all that about?
Well, the man's a prat. I mean, he really... Godfrey, Jeffrey, whatever...
He likes to get in the paper or something, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, he won't get in the paper. I mean, he's just rude, isn't he, really?
Oh, yeah.
Just rude. Well, if there's a young... Oh, for goodness sake.
And there's a lesbian on the table. And what was it?
Is that the level of discussion that they have as MEPs? Is that
he
really?
was a high-level one as well.
I don't think he was.
Well,
I can't even remember his name.
Europe.
Godfrey, Jeffrey, whatever.
Yeah.
Protesters, by the way, have hung knickers outside the office of Sir Christopher Chope, who, by the way, tried to back down on everything.
Do you
and
remember
say,
when Godfrey Bloom said about the sluts, and he said, "Oh no, where I come from, slut means dirt. You know, don't keep your room clean."
you know more about this
I
man.
just
I don't
remember it.
remember
He was quite high profile UKIP. You know, he was one of those
he?
crazy UKIP ones that go a bit.
Yeah.
So he was the one who got the most news of doing silly things.
Yeah, but, in the notes left for me here, it says he was a friend of Philip Davis, but he said he only had lunch with him once. So is that what constitutes
Well, it must have been a
being
very
friend?
long, good lunch, and they did a lot during it.
Yeah,
you know, you can become close friends
Could be.
in a lunch.
Sir Christopher Chope has objected, by the way, to numerous private members' bills, including safeguarding wild animals in circuses. Didn't like that. Protecting police dogs from being stabbed. Didn't like that. National standards for taxi licenses, which is a good idea. Didn't like that. Banning fraudulent wearing of medals. Didn't like that. Giving
you do that.
sixth formers better career advice. Didn't like that. And Philip Davis, Conservative MP for Shipley in Yorkshire. I hope they're going to look for a new MP at the next election. Also has been accused of filibustering to block the bill, which means you just waffle on, a bit like this programme. Philip had previously tried to derail a bill to protect women against violence. This is the level of these people, you know, that Godfrey, Jeffrey, whatever his flipping name was.
Yeah.
He's also consistently voted against allowing same-sex marriage, gay rights and equality and human rights issues. I think these two people should be just kicked out. Shouldn't they just be kicked out of Parliament? Why would you... I would love us in the next 15 or 20 minutes to ring restaurants, ring some places in those constituencies and see if we can talk. If you are...
Dorset, wasn't it? Somewhere in Dorset?
Well, no.
Christchurch, wasn't it?
Christchurch in Dorset, yeah. Or Shipley, which is in Yorkshire. Yeah. Which I've been to. I know well. I used to live near there. So if anybody is in Shipley or Christchurch and their MP is Sir Christopher, I keep getting their names wrong, Sir Christopher Chope, I just call him Wally, or Philip Davis. Well, I always worry about people who have Christian names for both their names as well.
Phil Davis.
Because you could call him Davis Philip, couldn't you? Or Davy Philip. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. You could turn him around whichever way you want. Well, maybe not. So anyway, I would love to know why anybody would vote for those people. I mean, they obviously sit there, don't they, when there's not many people and just try and talk everything out that anybody else is doing.
Maybe the sort of constituents that live in those areas, approve of this sort of...
Yeah. Well, maybe they do.
Because, I mean, maybe it was a good point. Maybe the law wasn't, tight enough. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't. No, I don't. And I think, quite frankly, safeguarding wild animals in circuses, he didn't like that. Protecting police dogs from being stabbed, didn't like that. National standards for taxi license, didn't like that. Banning fraud. What has this man ever done? What did he do to get a knighthood? He must have done something.
He must have done something very good,
And Godfrey Bloom is still prepared to go on the media. You think he'd have learned his lesson.
Well, he loves it. He seems to love it. He's like he can't control himself.
He's a short, bald little bloke, isn't he, when I think about it?
Yeah.
I remember now.
Yeah, you remember him, don't you?
I do now.
Hitting the bloke, the Channel 4 reporter, I think, with the brochure on the head saying, "Oh, you're racist for pointing out there was no all white faces."
I wish I'd realised that when I spoke to him. I would have wound him up a little longer before cutting him off.
Yeah.
But never mind. I won't ever have to talk to Mr. Bloom again. That suits me just fine.